Act 5, Scene 1. Dunsinane, a room in the castle. Enter a doctor and a waiting gentlewoman.
I've 2 nights watched with you, but can perceive no truth in your report. When was it she last walked?
Since His Majesty went into the field, I've seen her rise from her bed, throw her nightgown upon her, unlock her closet, take forth paper, fold it, write upon't, read it, afterwards seal it, and again return to bed. Yet all this while in a most fast sleep.
A great perturbation in nature to receive at once the benefit of sleep and do the effects of watching. In this slumbery agitation, besides her walking and other actual performances, what at any time have you heard her say?
This is against nature, to have the benefits of sleep while being awake. And it's another example of sleep disorder in the play.
That, sir, which I will not report after her.
You may to me, and 'tis most meet you should.
Neither to you nor anyone, having no witness to confirm my speech.
Lady Macbeth enters with a taper or candle.
Lawyer, here she comes. This is her very guise, and upon my life, fast asleep. Observe her. Stand close.
How came she by that light?
Why, it stood by her. She has light by her continually. 'Tis her command.
She's so frightened of the dark that she cannot rest unless there's a candle with her day and night. Interesting when you think back to her calling out for the dunnest smoke of hell to fill the castle at the beginning of the play.
You see her eyes are open.
Aye, but their sense are shut.
What is it she does now? Look how she rubs her hands.
It is an accustomed action with her to seem thus washing her hands. I have known her continue in this a quarter of an hour.
She imagines a spot of blood on her hand that she can never rub off.
Yet here's a spot.
Hark, she speaks. I will set down what comes from her to satisfy my remembrance the more strongly.
Out, damned spot! Out, I say! 1, 2. Why, then 'tis time to do it. Hell is murky. Fie, my lord, fie. A soldier and afeard. What need we fear, who knows it, where none can call our power to account? Yet who would have thought the old man to have so much blood in him?
On the night of Duncan's murder, she and smear the faces of the grooms with blood. Totally unprepared for the sight that awaited her, the image of the slaughtered Duncan has haunted her ever since.
Did you mark that?
The Thane of Fife had a wife. Where is she now?
The Thane of Fife is Macduff. He had a wife until Macbeth had her brutally murdered. Yet more stains of blood on Lady Macbeth.
What, will these hands ne'er be clean? Oh, no more of that, my lord, no more of that. You mar all with this starting.
Go to, you have known what you should not.
She has spoke what she should not. I am sure of that. Heaven knows what she has known.
Is the smell of the blood still? All the perfumes of Arabia will not sweeten this little hand.
She believes that all the perfumes of Arabia could not hide the smell of blood.
What a sigh is there. The heart is sorely charged.
I would not have such a heart in my bosom for the dignity of the whole body.
For all the wealth and dignity of being queen, the gentlewoman says she would not have the guilt and shame that Lady Macbeth carries in her heart.
Well.
Pray God it be, sir.
This disease is beyond my practice. Yet I have known those which have worked in their sleep, who have died wholly in their beds.
Wash your hands. Put on your nightgown. Look not so pale. I tell you again, Banquo's...
This disease is beyond my practice. Yet I have known those which have worked in their sleep, who have died wholly in their beds.
Wash your hands. Put on your nightgown. Look not so pale. I tell you again, Banquo's buried. He cannot come out on's grave.
She's constantly reliving the past, and it is driving her insane. She speaks aloud, as if to Macbeth at the coronation banquet, telling him that Banquo's ghost cannot speak against them.
Even so.
To bed. To bed. There's knocking at the gate. Come, 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 give me your hand. What's done cannot be undone. To bed. To bed. To bed.
And Lady Macbeth leaves.
Come, 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 give me your hand. What's done cannot be undone. To bed. To bed. To bed.
And Lady Macbeth leaves.
Will she go now to bed?
Directly.
Foul whisperings are abroad. Unnatural deeds do breed unnatural troubles. Infected minds to their deaf pillows will discharge their secrets. More needs she the divine than the physician.
What can he do for her? She needs God's help, not a doctor's. Her disease is emotional, psychological, not physical.
God forgive us all. Look after her. Remove from her the means of all annoyance, and keep still eyes upon her.
He fears she may commit suicide. Keep her away from sharp instruments.
So good night. My mind she has mated.
Not physical.
God forgive us all. Look after her. Remove from her the means of all annoyance, and keep still eyes upon her.
He fears she may commit suicide. Keep her away from sharp instruments.
So good night. My mind she has mated, and amazed my sight. I think, but dare no speak.
Good night, good doctor.
This scene ends with the once powerful Lady Macbeth reduced to a wreck, unable to scrub the memory of Duncan's bloody corpse from her mind. She displays obsessive-compulsive behaviour as her mental anguish has become physical. Remember, this was written 300 years before Freud began theorising about human psychology. Now, Shakespeare couldn't have named Lady Macbeth's compulsive behaviour as her mental anguish has become physical. Remember, this was written 300 years before Freud began theorising about human psychology. Now, Shakespeare couldn't have named Lady Macbeth's inner demons, but he clearly had a deep understanding of how the human mind works, as well as an unprecedented ability to present complex characters in a dramatic and truly believable way. The next scene leaves Macbeth's castle to see what's happening in the rest of Scotland. We join a group of rebel thanes who plan to meet up with Malcolm and the English forces. This is a great example of how Shakespeare uses time in the theatre. Of course, it would have taken days, if not weeks, for Malcolm and Macduff to march to Dunsinane. But in this short Lady Macbeth scene, time is used to time flipping around all over the place as the technology available to modern movies and television shows makes the impossible possible. But remember, it was Shakespeare who first created the illusion of long and short time. He was a true innovator. Act 5, Scene 2. We are in the countryside with Monteith, Caithness, Angus and Lennox. The thanes who have rebelled against Macbeth and his brutality are here together and ready to fight.
The English power is near, led on by Malcolm, his uncle Seward and the good Macduff. Revenges burn in them for their dear causes would, to the bleeding and the grim, alarm, excite the mortified man.
Ill shall come against him. That's where the English forces led by Malcolm, Seward and Macduff are meeting the rebel thanes.
Who knows if Donalbain be with his brother?
For certain, sir, he is not.
I have a file of all the gentry. There is Seward's son, and many unrough youths that even now protest their first of manhood.
Unrough in the sense that they haven't yet grown beards, so 14 or 15-year-olds.
What does the tyrant?
Great Dunsinane he strongly fortifies. Some say he's mad. Others that lesser hate him do call it valiant fury.
Macbeth is fortifying his castle for a siege. Remember, he still believes that he is invincible. Caithness says that while some think he's insane, others believe he still has some shreds of nobility, maybe remembering the valiant fury he showed in battle early on in the play.
But for certain, he cannot buckle his distempered corps within
his hands. Now minutely revolts upbraid his faith breach. Those he commands move only in command, nothing in love. Now does he feel his title hang loose about him, like a giant's robe upon a dwarfish thief.
These powerful lines remind us that Macbeth is, after all, a dwarfish thief. The great robe of kingship he has presumed to wear hangs about him. He can't cope with it. He was never a big enough man to be king. He never had the qualities of state that you need to be a great ruler.
Who then shall blame his pestered senses to recoil and start, when all that is within him does condemn itself for being there?
Well, march we on, to give obedience where 'tis truly owed. Meet we the medicine of the sickly wheel, and with him pour we in our...
On the body of Scotland, the rebels are the medicine to cure and wipe him out.
Or so much as it needs to dew the sovereign flower and drown the weeds. Make we our march towards Burnham.
Macbeth is a mere weed to be drowned in blood so that a new king can rise. And with that, the rebels march towards Burnham Wood to meet the English army. Act 5, Scene 3. A room in the castle at Dunsinane. Enter Macbeth, the doctor and some attendants. Macbeth has been receiving reports of rebel thanes joining the English army, but he just doesn't care. He slips from arrogance to cruelty to fear at a moment's notice. Reports of rebel thanes joining the English army, but he just doesn't care. He slips from arrogance to cruelty to fear at a moment's notice.
Bring me no more reports. Let them fly all. Till Burnham Wood, removed to Dunsinane, I cannot taint with fear. What's the boy Malcolm? Was he not born of woman? The spirits that know all mortal consequences have pronounced me thus. Fear not, Macbeth. No man that's born of woman shall e'er have power upon thee. Then fly, false thanes, and mingle with the English epicures. The mind I swear by, and the heart I bear, shall never sag with doubt, nor shake with fear.
Macbeth is absolutely sure of his invincibility, protected by the witch's prophecies. He's so positive of his victory that he doesn't care how many thanes rebel and join the English, who he describes as epicures or gourmets who care more about food than about war. What can they do to him? Now a servant enters with a message.
The devil damn thee, black, thou cream-faced loon. Where godst thou that goose look?
There is 10,000.
Geese, villain?
Soldiers, sir.
Go prick thy face and overread thy fear, thou lily-livered boy.
Your liver lacks blood. You are a coward.
What soldiers, Patch? Death of thy soul, those linen cheeks of thine are counsellors to fear. What soldiers, Wayface?
Whey is the white residue left when milk curdles.
Wayface?
Whey is the white residue left when milk curdles.
The English force, so please you.
Take thy face hence. Seated! I was sick at heart when I beheld Satan, I say. This push will cheer me ever or deceit me now. I have lived long enough. My way of life is fallen into the sear, the yellow leaf, and that which should accompany old age is honour, love, obedience, troops of friends. I must not look to have, but in their stead, curses, not loud, but deep, mouth honour, breath, which the poor heart would fain deny and dare not. Satan!
Although he fears nothing, the knowledge that 10,000 men and all the rebel thanes are marching towards him is sickening. He suddenly feels old, in the yellow leaf, meaning the autumn of his days. His actions have lost him the honour he once had, the love, obedience and companionship of the other thanes, as well as that of his wife, who he seemed to love very much. He's almost alone in the world. His last loyal thane is Seaton. Enter Seaton.
What's your gracious pleasure?
What news more?
All is confirmed, my lord, which was reported.
I'll fight, till from my bones my flesh be hacked. Give me my armour.
Macbeth has only one mantra. I'll go on fighting, I'll go on fighting, I'll go on fighting. He really seems to have lost it now. All that remains is the instinct to fight, even when he's backed into a corner. He has no diplomatic skills, no ability to plan. No wonder he made such a poor king.
'Tis not needed yet.
I'll put it on. Send out more horses. Scare the country round. Hang those that talk of fear. Give me mine armour. How does your patient, doctor?
This is Lady Macbeth's doctor. Macbeth obviously cares for her and wants her to be well.
Not so sick, my lord, as she is troubled with thick-coming fancies that keep her from her rest. Cure her of that. Canst thou not minister to a mind diseased? Pluck from the memory a rooted sorrow, raise out the written troubles of the brain, and with some sweet oblivious antidote cleanse the stuffed bosom of that perilous stuff which weighs upon the heart?
Macbeth has brilliant insight into his wife's problems. He sees that her inability to cope with the murder has affected her, but doesn't see that they are both victims. He wants a quick fix for her and asks the doctor if he has medicine that can erase her bad memories and make her well.
Therein the patient must minister to himself. Throw physic to the dogs, I'll none of it.
Macbeth can't accept this, that she must cure herself. Deep down, he must know that there is no cure for either of them.
Come, put mine armour on. Give me my stuff. Satan, send out. Doctor, the thanes fly from me. Come, sir, dispatch. If thou couldst, doctor, cast the water of my land, find her disease, and purge it to a sound and pristine health, I would applaud thee to the very echo that should applaud again.
Now comes an odd interpolated half-line, which some think refers to the fact he's just noticed his armour's on. He's sliding in and out of sanity now.
Pulled off, I say. What rhubarb, senna, or what purgative drug would scour these English hens? Hearest thou of them?
Rhubarb is good for causing diarrhoea, and he has the idea that he can use it to purge Scotland of the English.
Aye, my good lord, your rael preparation makes us hear something. Bring it after me. I will not be afraid of death and bane, till Burnham Forest come to Dunsinane.
He seems to think it's all a game he can't lose. And with that, he leaves the doctor alone on stage.
Were I from Dunsinane away and clear, prophet again. Should hardly draw me here.
The doctor wants to escape. He sees that Macbeth has lost the plot and will take everyone down with him. And there, the scene ends. Act 5, Scene 4. The countryside around Burnham. Enter Malcolm with drum and colours, plus old Seward, young Seward, Macduff, Monteith, Caithness, Angus, Lennox, Ross, and soldiers marching.
Cousins, I hope the days are near at hand, that Chambers will be safe.
We doubt it nothing.
What wood is this before us?
The wood of Burnham.
Now the importance of the third apparition.
Let every soldier hew him down a bough, and bear it before him. Thereby shall we shadow the numbers of our host, and make discovery err in report of us.
It shall be done.
So when Macbeth looks out of the castle, he's going to see what looks like Burnham Wood coming towards him. In fact, it's 10,000 English and Scottish soldiers carrying branches and foliage to camouflage their number.
It shall be done.
So when Macbeth looks out of the castle, he's going to see what looks like Burnham Wood coming towards him. In fact, it's 10,000 English and Scottish soldiers carrying branches and foliage to camouflage their number.
We learn no other, but the confident tyrant keeps still in Dunsinane, and will endure our sitting down before it.
'Tis his main hope. For where there is advantage to be gone, both more and less have given him the revolt. And none serve with him but constrained things whose hearts are absent too.
This is Macbeth's last stand. More or less everyone has turned against him and joined forces with Malcolm.
Let our just censures attend the true event, and put we on industrious soldiership.
The time approaches that will with due decision make us know what we shall say we have and what we owe. Thoughts speculative their unsure hopes relate, but
attend the true event, and put we on industrious soldiership.
the time approaches that will with due decision make us know what we shall say we have and what we owe. Thoughts speculative their unsure hopes relate, but certain issue strokes must arbitrate, towards which advance the war.
The true event, or main event, is here and now. They will attack Dunsinane with full force in this final act of war. Act 5, Scene 5. We're within Dunsinane Castle as the siege is about to start. The English army is on its way. Macbeth enters with Seaton and soldiers.
Hang out our banners on the outward walls.
Act 5, Scene 5. We're within Dunsinane Castle as the siege is about to start. The English army is on its way. Macbeth enters with Seaton and soldiers.
Hang out our banners on the outward walls.
The cry is still, they come. Our castle's strength will laugh a siege to scorn. Here let them lie till famine and the ague eat them up. Were they not forced with those that should be ours, we might have met them dareful, beard to beard, and beat them backward home.
Macbeth is convinced that his castle will stand up to any siege, and the English will run out of food and die of boredom. If the Scottish rebels weren't there too, Macbeth would have fought the English beard to beard, meaning in hand-to-hand combat, and forced them back to England.
Look!
What was that noise?
Weren't there too, Macbeth would have fought the English beard to beard, meaning in hand-to-hand combat, and forced them back to England.
Look!
What was that noise?
It is the cry of women, my good lord.
Seaton leaves.
I've almost forgot the taste of fear. The time has been my senses would have cooled to hear a night shriek, and my fell of hair would at a dismal treatise rouse and stir as life were in't. I have supped full with horrors. Dionysus, familiar to my slaughterous thoughts, cannot once start me.
Macbeth fears nothing, although he remembers when he did fear the night. But since then, he's seen so many horrors that nothing can start or scare him now. Seaton, while he fears nothing, Lady Macbeth was so racked with fear, grief and guilt that she's taken her own life.
She should have died hereafter. There would have been a time for such a word.
He wishes she died the following day. The battle's soon to start, and he hasn't time to mourn her now.
Tomorrow. And tomorrow and tomorrow. Creeps in this petty pace from day to day to the last syllable of recorded time. And all our yesterdays have lighted fools the way to dusty death. Out. Out, brief candle. Life's but a walking shadow. A poor player that struts and frets his hour upon the
subjects or queen, and yet he's unable to be killed. The image that our yesterdays exist only to bring us closer to death is very poignant, because there's nothing left at the end but destruction. Macbeth sees himself going on and on and on, as if he were an immortal, but never achieving anything worth having. Now he has another thought, that he's like an actor who comes out on stage to fret and scream for an hour and then be forgotten. Another thought, and worse than the last. His words are the ramblings of a complete lunatic who shouts and wails but has nothing to say. Ultimately, he understands that his brief time as king has been a disaster, and that he leaves nothing for posterity. Enter a messenger.
Thou comest to use thy tongue. False, upon the next tree shalt thou hang alive, till famine cling thee. If thy speech be sooth, I care not if thou dost for me as much.
Now Macbeth realises he should never have believed the witches, something Banquo knew right from the start. While he despaired of his situation, he at least thought he was invulnerable. But now he begins to fear.
I pull in resolution, and begin to doubt the equivocation of the fiend that lies like truth. Fear not till Burnham Wood do come to Dunsinane, and now a wood comes towards Dunsinane. Arm and out. If this which he avouches does appear, there is nor flying hence, nor tarrying here. Again to be...
He'll fight, and if he's killed, at least he'll die in battle. Act 5, Scene 6. Dunsinane, a field before the castle. Enter with drum and colours Malcolm, Old Seawood, Macduff, and their camouflaged army.
Now near enough. Your levy screens throw down, and so like those you are.
Unlike Macbeth, Malcolm gives precise, clear orders, and says to Old Seawood,
You, worthy uncle, shall with my cousin, your right noble son, lead our first battle. Worthy Macduff and we shall take upon us what else remains to do according to our order.
Fare you well. Do we but find the tyrant's power tonight, let us be beaten if we cannot fight.
Make all our trumpets speak. Give them all breath. Those clamorous harbingers
Power tonight, let us be beaten if we cannot fight.
Make all our trumpets speak. Give them all breath. Those clamorous harbingers of blood and death.
A harbinger is a newsbringer who heralds the coming battle. Act 5, Scene 7. Inside the castle. Macbeth enters covered in blood, in a terrible state, and doesn't know where to go next. He sees himself as a tethered bear, being torn apart by dogs for the delight of spectators.
They have tied me to a stake, I cannot fly, but bear-like I must fight the course. What's he that was not of woman born? Such a one am I to fear or none.
The 14 or 15-year-old young Seaward enters, imagining he's going to kill the tyrant. He approaches Macbeth with the brash confidence of a young, foolhardy soldier.
What is thy name?
And one am I to fear or none?
The 14 or 15-year-old young Seaward enters, imagining he's going to kill the tyrant. He approaches Macbeth with the brash confidence of a young, foolhardy soldier.
What is thy name?
Thou'lt be afraid to hear it.
No, though thou call'st thyself a hotter name than any is in hell.
My name's Macbeth.
The devil himself could not pronounce a title more hateful to mine ear.
No, no more fearful.
Thou liest! Abhorred tyrant! With my sword I'll prove the lie thou speakest.
Thou wast born of woman! But swords I smile at, weapons laugh to scorn, brandished by man that's of a woman born.
Macbeth still believes he can't be killed and slays yet another young man in combat.
Weapons laugh to scorn, brandished by man that's of a woman born.
Macbeth still believes he can't be killed and slays yet another young man in combat. Throughout the play, Macbeth has destroyed the future. Seconds after he leaves the stage, Macduff enters, looking for him.
That way the noise is. Tyrant, show thy face. If thou be'st slain with no... That way the noise is. Tyrant, show thy face. If thou be'st slain with no stroke of mine, my wife and children's ghosts will haunt me still. I cannot strike at wretched kerns whose arms are hired to bear their staves. Either thou, Macbeth, or else my sword with an unbattered edge I sheathe again undeeded. There thou shouldst be, by this great clatter. One of greatest note seems bruited. Let me find him, fortune, and more I beg not.
Macduff will avenge his family's death. He's had enough of killing kerns, the Irish mercenaries Macbeth has paid to fight for him. Ironically, these are the same mercenaries who fought with Swano and the traitor MacDonald against Duncan at the beginning of the play. Macduff has drawn his sword and will not put it away until he has killed. These are the same mercenaries who fought with Swano and the traitor MacDonald against Duncan at the beginning of the play. Macduff has drawn his sword and will not put it away until he has killed Macbeth. As he rushes off stage to find Macbeth, Seaward and Malcolm enter.
This way, my lord. The castle's gently rendered. The tyrant's people on both sides do fight. The noble thanes do bravely in the war. The day almost itself professes yours, and little is to do.
We have met with foes that strike beside us.
Enter, sir, the castle.
Malcolm enters Macbeth's castle to take what is rightfully his. Act 5, Scene 8. Within the castle we discover Macbeth, who has the point of his own sword aimed at his heart as he enters Macbeth's castle to take what is rightfully his. Act 5, Scene 8. Within the castle we discover Macbeth, who has the point of his own sword aimed at his heart as he considers suicide. What else is left? Then it dawns on him. It's better to kill others than myself.
Why should I play the Roman fool and die on mine own sword? Whilst I see lives, the gashes do better upon them.
Macduff rushes in.
Turn! Hellhound, turn!
Of all men else, I have avoided thee. But get thee back! My soul is too much charged with blood of thine already.
I have no words. My voice is in my sword, thou bloodier villain, and terms can give thee out!
And they fight, grindingly, brutally, each blow calculated to crush.
My voice is in my sword, thou bloodier villain, and terms can give thee out!
And they fight, grindingly, brutally, each blow calculated to crush and hack the life from each other. Eventually Macbeth gets the upper hand, believing himself immortal.
Thou losest labour. As easy mayst thou the entrenchant air with thy keen sword impress as make me bleed. Let fall thy blade on vulnerable crests. I bear a charmed life, which must not yield to one of woman born.
Despair thy charm, and let the angel whom thou hast still served tell thee Macduff was from his mother's womb untimely ripped.
Yes, it's true. Macduff's mother died before he was born, following a primitive caesarean section. Yes, it's true. Macduff's mother died before he was born, following a primitive caesarean section. He was therefore the only person who wasn't technically born of a woman and could kill Macbeth. And we see once again that the witches twist the truth and that Macbeth falls for it every time. Now he sees the writing on the wall. He is to die, and all his courage oozes away.
Cursed be that tongue that tells me so, for it hath cowed my better part of man.
Now he says what he should have said at the start.
And be these juggling fiends no more believed that palter with us in a double sense, that keep the word of promise to our ear and break it to our hope.
Remember how Banquo said early on that the instruments of darkness tell us truths. Win us with honest
our ear and break it to our hope.
Remember how Banquo said early on that the instruments of darkness tell us truths. Win us with honest trifles in order to betray us. Banquo got it right, and it's taken Macbeth all this time to realise that he's been led up the garden path by the witches, and the very last thing he believed has now been taken from him. He can't fight. He's afraid and throws down his sword and shield with a clatter.
I'll not fight with thee.
Then yield thee, coward, and live to be the show and gaze of the time. We'll have thee as our rarer monsters are, painted upon a pole, and under it, here may you see the tyrant.
In Shakespeare's England, those different from the norm, Siamese twins and such like, were paraded and exhibited in cages. Macduff says that's what they'll do with Macbeth, stick his head on a pole and right on. He decides to fight on.
I will not yield to kiss the ground before young Malcolm's feet, and to be baited with the rabble's curse. Though Burnham wood, we come to Dunsinane, and thou opposed, being of no woman born. Yet I will try the last. Before my body I throw my warlike shield. Lay on, Macduff, and damned be him that first cries, "Hold! Enough!"
They fight, yet now Macbeth is the weaker, having lost his sense of invincibility, and finally Macduff takes control of the battle and Macbeth is killed.
I would the friends we miss were safe arrived.
Some must go off. And yet by these I see, so great a day as this is cheaply bought.
Macduff is missing, and your noble son.
Ross enters, with news of Siward's son.
Your son, my lord, has paid a soldier's debt. He only lived but till he was a man, the which no sooner had his prowess confirmed in the unshrinking station where he fought, but like a man he died.
He died before he was technically of age, but he behaved like a man.
Then he is dead?
Aye, and brought off the field. Your cause of sorrow must not be measured by his worth, for then it hath no end.
The old man has only one question. Are his wounds...
I'll spend for him.
He's worth no more. They say he parted well and paid his score. And so, God be with him.
Hey!
It's Macduff, with Macbeth's head on a pole, just like the final apparition summoned by the witches. Of course, Macbeth hadn't realised the severed head would be his own.
Here comes newer comfort.
Hail, King, for so thou art! Behold where stands the usurper's cursed head. The time is free! I see thee compassed with thy kingdom's pearl, that speak my salutation in their minds, whose voices I desire aloud with mine. Hail, King of Scotland!
Malcolm comes forward to give a speech that many have likened to the major chords at the end of a violent symphony in a minor key, a speech which is exact in terms of its versification.
With you, my thanes and kinsmen, henceforth be earls, the first that ever Scotland in such an honour named. What's more to do, which would be planted newly with the time,
We can't stop here, he says. We've simply got to sort out the mess.
as calling home our exiled friends abroad, that fled the snares of watchful tyranny,
Then there's people like Seaton to bring to justice.
producing forth the cruel ministers of this dead butcher, and his fiend-like queen, who, as 'tis thought, by self and violent hands took off her life. This, and what needful else that calls upon us, by the grace of grace, we will perform in measure, time.
One of peace. He is a calm, secure figure, unlike Macbeth, who never did anything according to either measure, time or place, but hastened towards his destruction.